Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the Week 11 waiver wire targets. So on today's episode, we're going to be going over waiver wire targets that you should be looking at the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end position as we enter Week 11 of the fantasy football season. Then after going over that, I'm going to go over Week 10's performances, the standouts, and the guys that have just completely blown my mind when it comes to how they reacted and came back after week 9 and just had fantastic games, performances in week 10. So I'll be going over that at each of the positions. I'm also going to be going over a couple streaming options for defenses, so stay tuned for that. But before we go through all of that, I just want to thank all of you guys who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. We're above 4,000, looking to go any farther up. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content on the daily. Now, before I proceed to today's waiver wire targets, I just wanted to go ahead on this beautiful Monday and thank our veterans for serving in the military. For those of you who have served in the past or currently serve, I want to thank you guys. Your efforts and your sacrifice is not overlooked. We all see it. We all appreciate it, and I'm here to thank you guys. So for those of you who are watching, thank you very much. And besides that, I wanted to also take a moment to talk about Stan Lee. If you guys haven't heard, Stan Lee, one of the head creators of Marvel, a guy that's responsible for creating many of the characters in the Marvel universe, and one of the guys that kind of is intertwined with my fantasy gauntlet. Earlier today, passed away about 95 years old. Lived a pretty long, glorious life. So just wanted to mention that. And unfortunate passing away, but without him, a lot of the stuff in this channel would not exist. A lot of the passions I have in life wouldn't have been fulfilled. But just wanted to thank him and make sure we just have a quick moment of silence just for him. I'm just going to go ahead and thank you very much. All right, now that we've settled that, let's go. Let's talk about some waiver wire targets, shall we? All right, we're here. I'm ready, guys. It's Monday. And you know what? Actually, before we begin, let's go back to the full screen, all right? Take us back to the full screen. All right, let me just go over this really quickly because I know many of you, it's on your minds because it's on mine, all right? This past week, week 10 of the fantasy football season, may be one of the worst weeks that has ever existed when it comes to fantasy. Now, by what means, does that exactly sit? Well, I lost at every single one of my leagues this week, okay? So that's number one. Number two, on top of that, Cooper Kupp tore his ACL, all right? For Los Angeles fans, this is not a good thing. On top of that, okay? All of that to the side. Every single one of my sits from this past week somehow managed to watch my videos. And besides watching my videos, they decided, and they took it upon themselves. They called each other. They're like, listen, we need to plan and make sure that we score as many fantasy points as we possibly can, like our lives depended on it. AKA, example one, Kerryon Johnson somehow decided, okay, I'm going to pop off. Corey Davis decided, you know what? I'm going to blow up. Matt Breida, as I just watched him catch his second touchdown, decides I'm going to blow up. Literally every Isaiah Crowell, LaShawn McCoy, you're looking like you're 25 years old. You're looking like you're in your prime right now. Isaiah Crowell even had a touchdown, even though he's garbage. But still, literally every single, if Jordy Nelson caught a touchdown, it would have been a terrible week. But instead, he went and retired. I made him retire, guys. I don't know what to tell you. They're just unbelievable. An unbelievable week. But we're going to recover from this, and I'm going to be better from it. So let's move on. Let's go back. Let's talk about Week 11 waiver wire targets. Let's talk about the running back position specifically. Now, who stood out to me this past week at the running back position that may not be owned in your league as of right now, and you may be considering, due to the bye weeks coming up, there are 6 teams on bye week, and they are at the top of our screen here. The Buffalo Bills, the Cleveland Browns, the Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, the New York Jets, and the San Francisco 49ers will all be partaking in a bye week in Week 11, which by all means, I understand some of these teams aren't great, but they do have pieces within their offenses that make up our teams and help us win games for sure. James White's, I don't have James White this week, guys. Goodness, everything's going down the drain. But what are we here to talk about? We're talking about waiver wire targets. Number one, we're going to talk about Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans. How have I got to this stage? How did we get here? In week 1, literally after week 1, I sat here and I literally said, I'm done with Derrick Henry. It's done. Our relationship is broken. I will never talk about this man again. He's done. And then he somehow manages to find himself some relevancy and continues to destroy my morale, my everything. What did he do this past week? So against the New England Patriots, okay, here we go. He had 11 rushes for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns. Okay, the week prior against the Dallas Cowboys, he had a good amount of rushing attempts, decent amount comparatively to Dion Lewis, which he's not going to be able to outcarry the rest of the season. But Dion Lewis is probably owned in your league. But Derrick Henry last week even scored against the Cowboys, so he's had 3 rushing touchdowns in the past 2 weeks. Plays against the Colts, who let Leonard Fournette, do pretty much whatever he wants. Obviously, his rushing total wasn't great, but Leonard Fournette was coming off of an injury in which he hadn't really fully played since last season. This was his breaking out party. So where do I see Derrick Henry? I mean, I'm sorry. I can't ignore the fact that he's getting touches, he's getting goal line carries, and he's scoring fantasy points. So he is the first suggestion I wanted to talk about. Derrick Henry playing against the Colts. How much can I trust in Derrick Henry? Well, it just depends on where you're at. Is your team struggling due to the bye week? Are there injuries that plagued your team? You need a guy to pick up and play. Derrick Henry's not a bad option. Is he a guy that's going to win you a fantasy championship going forward? I would 100% doubt that. In fact, it's probably the opposite. He's going to pull your team down. But he's a name that I have to go over, and a guy that's honestly been performing. In the Tennessee Titans, their outlook as of right now, they've won some games as of late, and they're looking decent. And as of right now, Derrick Henry, what are they, 5-4? Yeah, they're a 5-4 team. They're above 500. And, you are what your record is as of right now at this point. So Derrick Henry, he's my first option or suggestion at the running back position going into Week 11. All right, number 2, Theo Riddick. Mentioned him in the Infinity Gauntlet, Fantasy Gauntlet video with the hidden gems. Had himself a decent week. Honestly, here's the thing. With Marvin Jones going down with injury, I'm not sure to what extent. We haven't gotten full confirmation on what his injury may be. Perhaps some of us know. I'm sure you're yelling, Andrew, it's it. I don't know what it is as of right now. But what the hold up. Goodness gracious. You got to be kidding me. See how fast I slid? All right, that's what happens when you have a house phone. People, just cancel your house phones. It's not worth it. It's just a waste, and it interrupts videos, as you can tell. All right, so as I was talking about Theo Riddick, right? This past week, he had 6 catches for 60 yards, which honestly, in PPR leagues, it's decent, right? It's 12 points right there. And then on top of it, if he's ever given the ball out of the backfield to run, just in case, Kerryon Johnson is not out of the backfield, he's a decent option. But as of right now, with Marvin Jones down for I don't know how long, perhaps he's not out at all. But he did sustain an injury this past week and last Sunday. And as of right now, with Golden Tate being out of this organization, they need a guy to catch the ball short range, and that's Theo Riddick as of right now. So going forward, yes, he's going to have to use in your running back spot, even though he's playing out wide a lot. But Theo Riddick, still a good option as a flex in a PPR, half-point PPR league. Upside of a touchdown potentially, and can even run the ball out of the backfield, so he's pretty versatile. I like him going forward. And for those of you who are thinking, exactly what kind of player is he? He's a poor man's Duke Johnson. He's not going to score those touchdowns, but he's going to get those receptions. He's going to get those yards, and in a PPR, he'll definitely help you out. So that's Theo Riddick. Playing against the Panthers this week, matchup-wise, it's okay. Because really he's playing the slot, and he's getting moved around the formation a lot. All right, number 3, the third running back, I wanted to mention was Rashaad Penny, which by all means, he came out of nowhere. The entire week, I was assuming that Chris Carson was not going to play. And in fact, he did not, because that hip injury that he's been dealing with, hip injuries in general in the NFL, if you have a hip injury, and we'll get into Joe Flacco in a little bit, but if you have a hip injury, chances are you might want to just be careful with it. There have been a lot of players in the league in recent years that as long as that hip injury keeps flaring up, they will not play. Especially a running back where all your explosion is lower body cuts, you're not going to be able to perform. You're not going to be able to play. So I thought Mike Davis would be coming out and having a decent week. And in fact, it was Rashaad Penny, the first round pick of the 2018 season, a guy who I've mentioned in the past, but, coming into this game, I had no clue. And quite frankly, I don't think anybody had an idea that Rashaad Penny was going to be the lead back guy that's getting a bunch of touches against the Los Angeles Rams defense. Los Angeles Rams defense, we knew for a fact. That's why I was promoting Mike Davis, because their run stopping is not great. Their linebackers don't come up and make too many plays, and their defensive line at times is a little suspect, even though they make plays in the pass rush and cause turnovers. They're just sometimes they're not great. Rashaad Penny on 12 carries was able to put up 108 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown, and on top of that, he had a breakout game. They still gave Mike Davis 11 carries, 58 yards. So if you started Mike Davis and he had 4 catches for 22 yards and a receiving touchdown. So if you started Mike Davis, by all means, it was a good play, right? He was still able to produce. But I had not, foreseen Rashaad Penny being used at the capacity that he was this game. And to be honest, going into this coming week, it's a short week. They play on Thursday night against the Green Bay Packers. So if you're considering picking up Rashaad Penny and playing him, it's not a bad idea. Because to be honest, Russell Wilson had 26 passing attempts. They're not going to throw the ball 50 times. They're not the Colts. They're not the Falcons. This team is going to run the ball. And 2 running backs is a two-headed monster is expected as of right now. So as of right now, Mike Davis, Rashaad Penny, they're looking like good plays as of this coming Thursday. As long as Chris Carson obviously doesn't play, which by all means, if he wasn't able to play Sunday, I'm thinking he's probably not going to play this coming Thursday on such a short week. They might as well hold him out. So that's my thoughts. Otherwise, Rashaad Penny, a guy that you could pick up and play this coming week potentially. All right, number 4, Jalen Richard. Okay, again, I'm back to Jalen Richard. Why? Because to be honest, I don't know how many teams in your league have him. He's pretty much the same concept of Theo Riddick, except he's used out of the backfield primarily. He's not really moved around the formation too often. To be honest, here's the thing. With 6 teams on bye this week, there aren't that many names within the running back position to throw out into the hat, right? Like, I could name like Darren Sproles, but is Darren Sproles going to be healthy this week? I don't know. He was supposed to play this past week, and in practice, he flared up the hamstring injury again. He hasn't played since week 1, right? So I can suggest other names, but are they truly going to pan out? Is it worth telling you guys to pick them up? So that's why I stuck with Jalen Richard, specifically because he was the leading receiver of the Raiders this past week. 5 receptions, 50 yards. Had 3 rushes for 7 yards. So he's being used decently. He's pretty much Theo Riddick at this point. So for those of you that have an option dealing with with bye weeks, perhaps injuries, like Chris Carson, Jalen Richard, if he's out there, pick him up, guys. Especially in PPR and half point PPR. In a standard, not a good idea. In a standard, Frank Gore. Please, if you haven't, I've said his name 10 times in the last 3 weeks, at least. And I've probably mentioned him as like a pickup. Frank Gore just broke 100 yards, all-purpose yards again, and he's 1,000 years old. And he's doing this. How? I'm a Kenyon Drake owner. Please, Frank Gore, you're ruining my damn season. Anyway, that's Jalen Richard. Damn you, Frank Gore. Goodness, just go to the Hall of Fame already, all right? Just go to Canton and just wait a couple years. All right, let's move on to number 5, Jaylen Samuels. Okay, so for Yahoo leagues, Jaylen Samuels is currently he's a backup running back / tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Let me look this up. Now, why am I specifically suggesting this guy? Well, this past week, James Conner sustained a concussion. So here's the question. Is Le'Veon Bell going to sign tomorrow? Because that is the big question. For those of you who own Le'Veon Bell, chances are he's not. And the reason why is because of Dez Bryant. Le'Veon sat there. He looked at Dez Bryant. He said, oh, my goodness. Dude just tore his ACL. I mean, not tore his ACL, sorry. Tore his Achilles at practice. I don't think I want to get near that. I might as well just wait, not get injured, and get paid big money, a lot of guaranteed cash next season, and that's probably what's going to happen. So he probably won't be signing. So let's say, for example, James Conner, by Sunday, does not play because he's injured with that concussion. He doesn't, pass concussion protocol. Jaylen Samuels would be the next guy up, perhaps Stephen Ridley, but Jaylen Samuels is a guy that, for those of you who have James Conner, need a handcuff just in case, and you have an extra roster spot, Jaylen Samuels would be the pickup. You could also throw him in the tight end spot because he's like a flex. So far, I don't know how, but that's what they have him. They have him at running back, tight end in Yahoo leagues. I don't know about ESPN or NFL.com, but as of right now, Yahoo, that is the option. But Jaylen Samuels as a handcuff to James Conner. And that's pretty much it at the running back position. Not too much depth because, honestly, I've mentioned a lot of guys in the past, especially last week. I named, Josh Adams, who really wasn't used within this Eagles offense, even though Doug Peterson came out a little bit earlier today and said, hey, we're going to use Josh Adams a little bit more. We're going to get him more touches, et cetera, et cetera. All right, I'll believe it when I see it at this point. But, all right, anyway, that's the running back position. We're going to go ahead and move on to the wide receiver position for Week 11 of the fantasy football season, the waiver wire targets. Now, here's the thing. Number one, we have Allen Robinson. Now, Allen Robinson, by all means, there was a couple questions this past week in the comment section that I saw. They were like, should I play Taylor Gabriel or should I play Trey Burton? And I kept saying, Allen Robinson has come out and he said he's fully healthy and he plans to play. So that was going to absorb a couple targets here and there. I did not expect Allen Robinson to come out and drop 30 fantasy points in PPR, catch 2 touchdowns, and completely torch that secondary of the Detroit Lions. By all means, Allen Robinson popped off. And going forward, if he's on the waivers, guys, you have to pick him up. That offense, I mean, they are moving. They are moving. Taylor Gabriel owners, no more. No more. Drop Taylor Gabriel, guys. The second wide receiver I want to talk about, Anthony Miller. Oh, what a surprise. The Bears wide receiver somehow, because Mitchell Trubisky is a gunslinger all of a sudden. Last season couldn't throw a touchdown to save his life. With Matt Nagy, they found a way. They're utilizing his strengths. They are finding wide receivers wide open, making plays, and this offense is moving. Obviously, to the detriment of the running game. Jordan Howard this past week, nothing. Literally nothing. But the wide receivers and the 400 passing yards or whatever, 355 passing yards that Trubisky was able to perform, he cleaned it up and he was a monster. So Anthony Miller, Allen Robinson, good options for this coming week 11 of the waiver wire targets. So check them out. Go pick them up. These two, they've passed their bye week, so going forward, you should be clean slate to start them up when you want. Especially, Allen Robinson, yes, we know him from playing with the Jaguars, but Anthony Miller, if you guys look at his fantasy points as of late, this guy has been above 10 points each of the last 3 weeks, and he just keeps getting better. So rest of the season, Anthony Miller could be a sneaky rookie wide receiver to watch out for. Anyway, number 3, I wanted to mention Josh Reynolds. As I mentioned before in the video, I talked about Cooper Kupp tearing his ACL. The next man up within this wide receiver depth chart is Josh Reynolds. Here's the thing about the offense of the Los Angeles Rams. They use a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. So Josh Reynolds is going to be incorporated and used a lot. There is a potential that the tight end position is featured more within this offense, especially this past week where we saw Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett catch touchdowns. As of right now, I still think Josh Reynolds is going to be the number 3 wide receiver. We've seen it in the past when Cooper Kupp went down with that MCL sprain. So going forward, rest of the season, if you're a Cooper Kupp owner, you're trying to replace him, Josh Reynolds is the guy. God, Cooper. Why? Cooper. Anyway, we're going to move on to number 4, John Ross. Many of you came out and you said, hey, Andrew, John Ross, should I do it? With A.J. Green out, is it a good idea? And I sat there and I was like, how can I trust him? How can I honestly trust him? And to be honest, another one of those bad calls from this past week. Ended up catching a touchdown, having 10 points in fantasy? That would have been a good flex play for many of you, and even me at this point from this past week's performances. John Ross, he stepped up. He was a first-round pick 2 years ago. Not this past draft, but 2017. He better be catching touchdowns by all means. So for those of you thinking, you know what, maybe I need to pick up another wide receiver, John Ross is a good option. Yet he plays against the Ravens defense this week. A tough matchup, but by all means, he has deadly speed. And speed, it really can't be countered with anything. He's going to take top off the defense. They're going to give him a couple attempts over the top. So we'll see where that goes. Either way, he's my number 4, the 4th option I wanted to mention. All right, number 5, I wanted to talk about Keke Coutee for the Houston Texans. He could potentially, yes, Demaryius Thomas is within that offense, but Keke Coutee could potentially, after that bye week, be healthy enough to play as a wide receiver 3. He has a pretty good potential, I think, out of the slot. Coutee's going to be used. I don't think Demaryius Thomas is let's say, for example, if Emmanuel Sanders went to the Texans, I would be like, all right, Coutee's done, right? Because he's another level above Demaryius Thomas. But Demaryius Thomas, he's getting older. He's new within this offense. I'm not sure. I know he's had a couple weeks about this is going to be his coming into his 3rd week as a Texan. I understand that he's probably more comfortable with the offense, but this offense is going to move the ball around. They're going to look for their 3rd wide receiver, Keke Coutee, a guy that honestly, so far this season, when healthy, has been very productive. So for those of you considering, he's a pretty good option playing against the Redskins this week. What happened to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Oh my goodness. Speaking of the Redskins shellacked them. What is Fitz doing? I don't get it, people. Please. I don't understand it. How can you have 400 passing yards and score 3 points? 3 points on 400 passing yards. How? How? I'm sure all of us who've started Ryan Fitzpatrick this week are thinking the same thing, but man, it's just brutal. All right, number 6, the wide receiver position. We have Zay Jones of the Buffalo Bills. Now, listen, okay, relax. He's on a bye week, so it doesn't mean you have to pick him up, but he's a guy that honestly, Barkley looked good. Matt Barkley of the Buffalo Bills, a guy that they literally just picked up. By all means, hey, you know what, real quick. Nathan Peterman was dropped. I want to go ahead and standing ovation to the Bills. No moment of silence. Standing ovation. You guys finally got rid of the worst player on your roster. Congratulations. You guys were finally able to pull the Band-Aid off and get rid of him, okay? That's done. Now you got to get rid of Derrick Anderson. Matt Barkley should probably start rest of the season unless Josh Allen is ready to play. But either way, Zay Jones rest of the season. If Barkley is there and he's playing, Zay Jones could be a good option. He is the most talented receiver on that team. I don't even think Kelvin Benjamin had a catch this past week because they ran the ball 35 times, I think. So Zay Jones was the go-to out of that offense. Zay Jones, we know he's a talented receiver out of college. We knew he was going to be good last season. A little bit of hiccups here and there with Tyrod Taylor in that offense, but this season prior to this week was absolutely nothing. So had a pretty decent go of it. The last guy I wanted to mention at the wide receiver position is Brandon Marshall. Yes, he has been signed to the New Orleans Saints. It is confirmed. I don't have a matchup next to him because I don't think he's going to play this week. So for those of you who are thinking, hey, I need a wide receiver, who do I pick up? Brandon Marshall is not a bad idea. If you own Traquan Smith, you can drop him. I am an owner of Traquan Smith. We've talked about him in the past to an extent. To be honest, when you play against the Cincinnati Bengals and your offense puts up 51 points and you don't get a single target thrown in your direction, it's either Drew Brees hates your guts or this offense is never going to give you the ball. Either way, it is not good because you can't be that unlucky to not get a single target when your team puts up 51 points. It's literally impossible. So hopefully Brandon Marshall, whenever he comes within this offense, probably will play his first game in Week 12. He'll demand the ball. He's a bigger target. He's a red zone threat, and he's a decent option. He's probably, honestly, he's worth less than Dez Bryant would have been if Dez Bryant was healthy. And Dez Bryant was like wide receiver 3-4 range. So Brandon Marshall could be decent, but anyway, that's just the last name I wanted to throw out there. Let's move on to the next position. Talking about the quarterbacks. All right. So as I mentioned, Buffalo, Cleveland, Miami, New England, New York Jets, and San Francisco 49ers are all out. But that's not going to hurt many of you to an extent because, you still have your Patrick Mahomes, you still have your Jared Goffs. You'll be fine. But for those of you looking for a streaming quarterback, perhaps you started Baker this past week and he popped off. Perhaps you started Tom Brady and you're like, I'm sick and tired of Brady. I need another quarterback. Here are my options. We have Marcus Mariota playing against the Indianapolis Colts, a defense that has struggled this season. And Mariota and the Titans, they are on fire as of late, by all means. He's a good option for this week. He's a good streaming option. He scored a lot of points as of late with his arm and with his legs. I mean, deceptively, he picks up a lot of yards with his legs. This past week against the New England Patriots wasn't really forced out of the pocket very often. Only had 20 rushing yards. But let me go ahead and find the week prior against the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. He ended up rushing for 32 yards and a touchdown. I mean, just off of his legs, he's scoring 10 fantasy points, which is fantastic. Marcus Mariota going forward against the Colts. I love the matchup. And to be honest, with the momentum that they currently have and them trying to get into the playoffs, I only see, success. Now, here's the thing. Andrew Luck's going to come out and he's going to fire away. He's going to put up a lot of points. It is up to Marcus Mariota and his arm to keep up and be able to score. Because you're not going to be able to, clock control with Derrick Henry, Deion Lewis, and running the ball if, Andrew Luck comes out and scorches you guys really quickly. So we'll see how that ends up. Otherwise, I still like Marcus Mariota as the best waiver wire streamer pickup for this week. So he's my first guy. Second guy, Josh Rosen. Now, this may be, you never know. This could be a deep league. Could be a 16-man league. Could be a 12-man league and you're still struggling. Could be a super flex league with 10 teams, 2 quarterbacks. Josh Rosen is not a bad idea this week, guys. To be honest, you're playing against the Raiders. The Raiders are, we know how bad the Raiders are. How many points did they score this past week? They scored 6 points. So in the last 2 weeks, they've scored 9. Congratulations. After Derek Carr spiked the ball on 4th down, it wasn't a spike. The screen pass pretty much was read out. It was snuffed out. And instead of throwing the ball and trying to make a play, he spiked it. He knew he made a mistake. But after he did that, the Raiders are a mess. They're an absolute mess. They play in Arizona. The Arizona Cardinals are coming off a pretty good week. They allowed the Kansas City Chiefs the least amount of points that they've scored this season, which is 26. So their defense is a little bit more improved. I think if the defense is there, they're trying to win games, right? They're not trying to tank. So Rosen, that defense, that offense, they're going to come out. David Johnson popped off this past week in his best matchup. The Kansas City Chiefs were giving up the most points to the running back position. Just wait till Todd Gurley shows up this week. But as of right now, Josh Rosen within this offense, finding more comfort. He's going to have to step up. They're going to beat the Raiders for sure. And I think he could be fantasy relevant for many of us. Number 3, Eli Manning playing against the Buccaneers. By all means, if the Redskins can beat the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers, they had their opportunities. But if the Redskins, with Alex Smith, who has only thrown for 10 touchdowns this season, right? Patrick Mahomes, might I add, has thrown 31. Okay? Let's just put that into perspective. Yet, they still have, 6 wins over there in Washington. I don't know how. But as of right now, Eli Manning against Tampa Bay Buccaneers this coming week. I don't know what he's doing right now. Let's see what Eli's done. Eli's thrown 2 touchdowns against the 49ers as we speak, as the game is currently going on in the third quarter. So as of right now, if he can throw, a decent amount of points against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I won't be surprised. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the worst defense in the NFL. They continue to prove it. And until they, stop somebody from scoring a bunch of points on them, then I'll believe it. But as of right now, Eli Manning could be a good streamer and waiver wire pickup for this coming week. The last quarterback I wanted to mention, Matthew Stafford. He may have been dropped in your league. There's probably a good chance, considering he was playing against the Bears, considering it wasn't a good matchup. Yes, he finds some value in the fourth quarter in garbage time, but I think against the Panthers, a team that, really got worked in the passing game, could have a pretty good opportunity for this coming week. So he's a good option. And that's pretty much it for the quarterback position. There's no way Trubisky's available in your league. If he's available in your league, something's wrong, honestly, because he's been in the top 12 within my rankings for the last 3-4 weeks now. So he has to be in your league, guys. I'm telling you, he has to be. But either way, that's the quarterback position. Let's move on to the tight ends. Not as many tight ends, man. The tight ends, they're getting thin, right? As of right now, it's either you have garbage tight ends like Jordan Reed, or you have guys that are coming out of nowhere and putting up a lot of points, or you have Zach Ertz, who is, by all means, if you score 40 points in a PPR, he put up 40 points for me in a PPR, and I still lost. Imagine the week I could have possibly it's unbelievable. Some of the stuff that happened this week didn't go my way. And I'm going to live with it, right? Because it's, at the end of the day, it's my decision. I put in the lineup. But by all means, you know what's worse? When you lose, no matter what you could have done, even if you put in guys off your bench, you still would have lost. That's the worst. Maybe actually, you know what? The worst is probably losing by half a point, which I've done already this season once, when you could have put in another guy. Ooh, that's the worst. Anyway, we're talking about tight ends, okay? We're not talking about the worst possible fantasy outcomes, but if that's happened to you, comment section, hit it up. Let me hear it. Let me hear the worst thing that's happened to you in fantasy. So let's talk about tight ends. Jeff Heuerman, tight end of the Denver Broncos. He was on bye this past week, but the week prior against the Texans had 11 targets, 10 receptions. Okay, coming off the bye this week, he's honestly the best tight end waiver wire pickup, unless somehow Eric Ebron is available. In that case, you know where to go. Eric Ebron, 3 touchdowns. Insane. Jeff Heuerman, I know he hasn't been used a lot within this offense, but to be honest, he's a decent option at the tight end position this week. And I think as of right now, there isn't really many options at the tight end, so you might as well try to pick this guy up and give him a shot. Because honestly, guys like Njoku, Jimmy Graham, Trey Burton, Jack Doyle, O.J. Howard, Jordan Reed, Evan Ingram. I don't even know what he's done. These guys are they're doing nothing. Evan Ingram has literally 1 reception for 0 yards. I'm looking at it right now with 12 minutes to go in the fourth. The tight end position is a wasteland. So you might as well give it a shot. Jeff Heuerman, he's coming off an 11-target week. You might as well give it a shot, guys. All right, number 2, I wanted to mention Gerald Everett of the Los Angeles Rams. He is the more primary receiving option at the tight end position within the Rams organization. Now, they do have Tyler Higbee, but let me just preface this. Tyler Higbee is primarily their blocking tight end. He is very good at blocking, and majority of the time, their formations consist of 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, 1 tight end. So it'll be either or on the field. And obviously, they've used both of them to catch touchdowns, especially this past week. So who is it going to be? I honestly think it's going to be Gerald Everett. But honestly, it's kind of a toss-up. But majority of the time, Everett, and throughout the season, he gets more targets, more receptions. And I think he'll get more opportunity while Cooper Kupp is gone. If you're looking for a tight end to kind of throw in there because you've been dealt the bad hand of tight ends. All right, number 3, Ricky Seals-Jones of the Cardinals. He really has done nothing this season. Just mentioning his name is a disservice to you guys. I'm sorry for having to do it, but to be honest, who else is available? There really isn't many good tight ends. At this point, you're better off just not starting a tight end now. There's no such thing as that. But you're better off just grabbing a random guy off of a random team and throwing him into your lineup and hoping he catches a touchdown. Like Jonnu Smith, right? He should technically be on this list. Jonnu Smith of the Tennessee Titans should be on this list. He's got 2 touchdowns each of the last 2 weeks, right? 1 touchdown each. But I don't have him here. You want to know why? Because I can't trust Jonnu Smith when he's literally catching the ball twice and one of them is for a touchdown. I just can't do it. I can't trust it. But if you like, there you go. Jonnu Smith is a good option. But Ricky Seals-Jones, he plays against the Raiders. He's been getting a couple of targets. I think he had 5 catches for 50 yards this past week. If I'm not mistaken, let's go ahead and click on that. He had 5 catches for 51 yards. There you go. Not bad. Pretty decent for a tight end at this point. I'll take it. The last guy I wanted to mention is James O'Shaughnessy. Here's the thing. We know Blake Bortles likes to use the tight end position. Obviously not to the extent that other teams do. We've seen him with Mercedes Lewis in the past be decent. Austin Jenkins was decent earlier on this season before he went on IR. James O'Shaughnessy, he's an option. I don't know how good of an option, but he's there. Nick Vannett, he's an option, but I don't even know if he's there. But as of right now, this tight end position, it's such a wasteland, guys. I don't even want to talk about tight ends anymore. We're moving on. All right, we're talking about defensive waiver wire targets, defenses that you can stream for this coming week. We got 4 options here, people. Number 1, Arizona Cardinals against the Raiders. Yes, that is I've mentioned Arizona Cardinals a lot this episode. You want to know why? Because they play the Raiders. The Raiders are so bad. Okay? And somehow, for some way, until the 2-minute warning in the second quarter, the Chargers were tied with them, 3-3. That's goodness gracious, Philip Rivers. What were you doing, huh? You really ruined Austin Eckler as a hidden gem, huh? Anyway, Arizona Cardinals, they play the Raiders. As I mentioned before, they played pretty good defense against the Chiefs as of this past week. So they could give the Raiders a pretty good smack this week. The second defensive option I wanted to mention, because to be honest, all the bad teams, the Jets, the Buffalo Bills, Cleveland Browns have been great as of late, as of right now. But who else is on bye week? Miami, it's literally right in front of me. I'm looking around the 49ers. Those teams, they are on bye this next week. So you don't really have somebody that, play against the Jets. You don't have that. So what we do have, honestly, is we have the Saints versus the Eagles, and the Saints defense looking great as of late. And we have the Washington Redskins versus the Texans. Now, the Washington Redskins defense is pretty good by all means. Is it a good matchup? I don't know. But the Texans could be prone to turning the ball over if the Redskins come out and start putting on some good defense here or there. It's just, to be honest, and even with the Saints, right? The Saints could just get 30 points dropped on them. I don't know. But to be honest, I'm looking at these matchups. Unless you're thinking about playing the Giants D versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a waiver wire pick, might I add. Because let's be honest, right? In your league, the Steelers are probably already gone. The Panthers are gone. The Cowboys are probably gone. But I don't even want to play the Cowboys against the Falcons. The Texans are probably gone. The Ravens are gone. The Broncos, the Chargers, the Vikings, the Bears, the Eagles, the Saints, the Rams, the Chiefs, they're probably all gone and or not available. And I don't want to play the Chiefs against the Rams. Why would I do that? Why would I play a defense into a matchup where it's going to be a shootout? It's not going to work. So the option you have is hopefully the Panthers are available. In that case, you could pick them up. But I don't even know if they're available. I don't know what's in your league. But as of right now, these are the 3 options. You can play the Saints, the Redskins, or the Cardinals. Hopefully the Cardinals are available. If none of those are available, and you're looking down the barrel of having to play, maybe the Titans are... you want to play the Titans against Andrew Luck? You're going to get negative points. That's the problem. So your 4th option, don't start a defense. Don't risk negative points. You're welcome. All right. That's pretty much it. We're going to move on. I'm going to go over Week 10 and how the... Week 10? Yes, Week 10 and how that ended up at each of the following positions. Let's talk about the quarterbacks this week. Ben Roethlisberger led all scores from Thursday Night Football with those 5 touchdown passes to 5 different receivers: Jesse James, Vance McDonald, Samuels, Juju Smith, and Antonio Brown, all catching touchdowns. Fantastic week for the team. Really big morale booster, but to be honest, Big Ben at home versus Big Ben away, that's pretty much the meme, right? As of right now. Ben Roethlisberger, when he's playing away games, he's not great. He gets to go play the Jaguars this next week. We'll see if he ends up figuring it out, because the last 2 times he played the Jaguars, he's lost both times. And I don't know if he's going to be able to pick up a win, but he needs it, and so do the Jags, sitting there at 3-6. We'll see how that goes. Mitchell Trubisky. How is he doing it? He's just insane this season. Only 19 touchdowns passing, but again, he makes some plays with his legs. Gets a couple rushing touchdowns this season. He's been good comparatively to where he was at last season. where he was thrown within an offense in an organization where, I mean, he had no chance. And now he's turned it around, and they've looked good. Mitchell Trubisky, I mean, goodness gracious. And as long as Allen Robinson's there, Anthony Miller's stepping up, Trey Burton here and there, Tariq Cohen, they have a good offensive line. They have a great defense. They're going to be looking good rest of the season. I mean, plain and simple. It's just, there's no arguing the fact. Number 3 was Drew Brees this week. Still had 35 points after they dropped a 50 bomb on the Cincinnati Bengals defense. The Bengals defensive coordinator was fired earlier this morning. What a surprise. You get 50 dropped on you. But then again, I don't understand some of the logic. There should be, like, the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should be fired by now. Should be. He literally should be. Dirk Cutter should be fired. You want to know why? If you didn't already know this. The offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that was the offensive coordinator for the past 9 weeks, okay, was replaced, and Dirk Cutter decided, you know what, in week 10, I'm going to call the offense. Congratulations. You scored 3 points on offense when the guy before you, who is still there as the offensive coordinator, was averaging 27 points per game under his control. You know, good job, Dirk Cutter. Get fired, please. Resign already, okay? You're killing fantasy teams out here. All right, we're moving on to Russell Wilson, 32.5 points. My goodness, Dirk Cutter. You're pissing me off, Dirk Cutter, I swear. Russell Wilson made a lot of plays with his legs, guys. By all means, had 90 rushing yards. And if I'm not mistaken, let's pull this up. He had 9 rushing attempts for 90 rushing yards. Fantasy-wise, that's 9 points. I mean, that's more rushing yards than Jordan Howard and Adrian Peterson combined this past week, and Isaiah Crowell in that matter. So he looked good with his legs. Ended up throwing the ball only 26 times, but 3 touchdown passes on his 17 completions. Honestly, this is a run-first team, but they managed to get into the red zone, and they pass the ball consistently, which I love. It helps out when Tyler Lockett's stepping up, making plays, and Doug Baldwin is out bullshitting and doing nothing. Baker Mayfield, number 5. Congratulations, Baker. Great performance. I mean, you were the perfect hidden gem. You did your job. Congratulations. That was perfect. Came out. They gave it to the Falcons. I thought the Cleveland Browns would have to catch up, but it was the Falcons that ended up having to catch up, and they couldn't. They couldn't keep up with Nick Chubb. That run game looked fantastic. The team looked good. They're going off to the bye, and we'll see where they pick up after they come off the bye week. We had Andrew Luck at number 6. The dude's an animal. He is consistently scoring 25-plus points a game. From here on out, I don't care what you do, you start him. I mean, if you come to me in the comment section, you ask Andrew Luck or, X, Y, or Z, I'm going to say Andrew Luck every time. Period. Done. Number 7, it was Mariota. Stepping up with 25 fantasy points, has looked good as of late. As I mentioned before, you can't ignore the fact that he is putting up points. He plays against the Colts this coming week. Defense that has struggled in the past. I mean, they just gave Blake Bortles 25 fantasy points, so why not Marcus Mariota this week? Speaking of Blake Bortles, there he is at number 8. 25.6 points, not a surprise. You played against the Colts. The Blake Bortles plays against the Colts in 2 weeks from now. All right? Is it 2 weeks from now? Not this week, not week 11, but week 12. So 3 weeks from now. Plays against the Colts again. For those of you looking for a streamer in that time frame, there you go. Blake Bortles at that time should be decent. All right, we're going to go ahead. Let's talk about good old Carson Wentz at number 9. Had a good week. By all means, he's probably going to be around this range every single week going forward. I mean, he has the offensive weapons to do so. Yet he only uses Zach Ertz, 14 targets and 2 touchdowns. Carson Wentz still ended up being a pretty decent fantasy performer. Number 10, Jared Goff found himself some good production. Todd Gurley's going to steal some touchdowns here and there. That is a given. But from what we saw, so far so good. They play against the Chiefs this coming week. Should be another great performance. Let's move on to the running back position of this last week. Nick Chubb. At least one of my starts of the week. At least one of them. Okay? Now, I could come out and I could say, hey, you know what? Christian McCaffrey, James Conner, and Saquon Barkley are my starts of the week. I can come out and say that, but that's not the point. The point is to get guys that are going to have pretty good performances due to matchups, due to opportunity, and guys that you may not be considering playing. I got so many questions on, should I play Nick Chubb? Should I play Nick Chubb? And by all means, I told you to play Nick Chubb. He popped off. Bless your souls. Where's Aaron Jones on this list? We'll get to Aaron Jones, but speaking of souls, he took mine and he broke it. Number 2 this past week was Christian McCaffrey on Thursday Night Football. I said it this past week. Thursday night, you're either going to win or lose the game, or win or lose the week off of the night's performances because of how many points the Steelers put up and how many points Christian McCaffrey had put up just by himself. So he had a fantastic week. He continues to perform very well. And, many of us thought, hey, he was going to break down by this point with all the attempts he's had. He's looking healthy as ever, and he's looking great. Number 3 was David Johnson against the easiest defense against the running back position. Thus far this season, the Kansas City Chiefs are giving up almost 30 points a week to the running back position, and he broke that. So when we have the running back episode tomorrow, we're going to be talking about Todd Gurley being the number 1 running back for Week 11. That is a given. Number 4, Ezekiel Elliott. Thank you for coming back, Zeke. Thank you for coming back. We had to talk shit about you. We had to make sure that you felt the heat underneath your seat that kind of got you going. Bless your soul. But you somehow managed to do it against a top 5 rushing defense. You somehow managed to accomplish that. You managed to accomplish like 10 yards a carry at some point. Let me see how many. I mean, it's insane. You would think, hey, you know what? The Eagles, they only give up 50 yards a game on the ground. They've got a fantastic defensive line. They are really good against the run. They know the Cowboys want to run the ball. They're going to lock them down. Here comes Ezekiel Elliott with 19 carries for 151 yards on the ground, 1 rushing touchdown, 6 receptions for 36, and a receiving touchdown. Goodness gracious, guys. You got to be kidding me. 187 all-purpose yards on 25 touches? Goodness gracious. 2 touchdowns? Had himself a week, baby. Number 5, Aaron Jones. Goodness gracious, guys. Aaron Jones, he has to start from here on out. He has to. He's out-touching Jamal Williams like it's nothing else, and he looked good. Now, let's fix the narrative really quickly. Can he put up 30 every week? No, it's not going to happen. They played against the Miami Dolphins. I showed you this past week. The Dolphins give up the 7th most rushing yards in the league. It was going to happen. He was going to be good. The question was, were they going to give him the ball enough times to make him relevant? They showed that they will, and hopefully the rest of the season they can continue to do so to help out Aaron Rodgers so they don't have to put so much pressure on him. You got to have a running game, right? All right, that's Aaron Jones. Number 6, Leonard Fournette. Welcome back. Many of you asked, hey, where is Leonard Fournette on last Tuesday's running back video? I commented back. I'd have him ranked around number 15. By all means, he broke that with those 2 touchdowns. Was the number 6 running back on his week back. Congratulations for those of you who stuck around, kept him. Congratulations for those of you who went out and traded for him. You will be rewarded for Leonard Fournette being on your team rest of the season. Melvin Gordon, number 7, for sure, one of the best running backs in the game right now. A guy that is absolutely utilized at the position. And his team pretty much revolves around his production. So had a fantastic week. Number 8, we had LaShawn McCoy. Shady is back. Now, does this mean in week 12 I'm starting him? Absolutely not. I don't know if I can trust that. They played against the Jets defense and the Jets team that was just atrocious. He had a fantastic week, but does this mean LaShawn McCoy is a guy that I can trust on? Maybe you should trade him. Maybe you can trade him away. Maybe you can convince someone to buy LaShawn McCoy off of you. You never know. Number 9, Alvin Kamara. Fantastic week. Mark Ingram, number 10. This dynamic duo is insane. This team is, honestly, I think they're the best team in the NFL. Plain and simple. They got, out of, the teams with the best records, the Saints, the Chiefs, and the Rams. I mean, they have the best quarterback, right? Drew Brees is the best, hands down, They have the best number 1 receiver, right? I don't care what you say. Michael Thomas is better than Brandon Cooks, Tyreek Hill. They have the best. Okay, you know what? No, I'm not going to go there. I don't think Alvin Kamara is better than Todd Gurley. Maybe a little bit better than Hunt, but the combination of Mark Ingram and Kamara, it's too much. You can't stop it, guys. This offense is ridiculous. All right, we're moving on. Let's talk about the wide receiver positions real quick. Speaking of Tyreek Hill, goodness gracious, 29 points. This is what he does. He shows up for 1 week. He crushes my soul. I literally, imagine this, okay? I wasn't home from around 10 to 2 o'clock on Sunday. But as I left my house and I was in the car, I was at a red light. I looked at my phone and I was like, you know what? Let's see how the scores are going. Maybe somebody scored. I look at my score on one of my leagues, and I was literally losing 15-90 at 10:20 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. 20 minutes into Sunday morning football, I was down 75 points. Now, you may be thinking, Andrew, how is that possible? Let me tell you how it's possible. Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyreek Hill, Eric Ebron, Andrew Luck, Mark Ingram. That's it. Literally all scored in the first quarter and poured points. I mean, my team saw that from across the board, demoralized. They're like, we can't do this anymore. James White was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. Took the week off. All right. Talking about wide receivers again. Tyreek Hill, great performance. This coming week plays against the Rams. We'll see how that goes, but speed kills. Number 2, Allen Robinson. Welcome back, baby. At least you've done something. Many of you have either dropped him or he's sitting on your bench. Rest of the season could be a good wide receiver 2, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver 1 due to his potential schedule going forward. Number 3, Michael Thomas, monster. Just completely, he's been so consistent as of late, and they're just going to continue to use him at this accelerated rate because honestly, if you're not going to throw the ball to Traquan, just really quickly, I'm kind of curious. Who else did they throw the ball to this week? All right, the Saints threw the ball to Michael Thomas, Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara. All right. Then they threw the ball to Keith Kirkwood, Dan Arnold, Austin Carr, and Ben Watson. So they threw the ball to nobody else except for Michael Thomas, Kamara, and Ingram. That's pretty much it. All right, number 4 was Corey Davis. Corey Davis, I don't trust you. I don't care what you did. You've broken my heart. You know what? I forgot to mention Corey Davis is a waiver wire pickup. If he's available, you can pick him up. He plays against the Colts this week. I don't know why I forgot that. It should have been a full Titans team pickup, pretty much. Number 5, Brandon Cooks. Speed kills, guys. Anthony Miller, fantastic performance. He's been on fire in the last couple weeks. Going forward, should be pretty decent as the number 2. He's not going to pull number 1 cornerback coverage. He's not going to pull double coverage over the top. Should be decent. Number 7, Julio Jones, second week in a row with a touchdown, baby. Looking good. Speaking of 2 touchdowns, Devontae Adams caught himself 2 touchdowns. Why? Because he's the only wide receiver on this offense. That is, helping out Aaron Rodgers because the rest of them can't get open. Number 9, Zay Jones caught another 2 touchdowns himself. And Antonio Brown had himself a good week on Thursday Night Football. Pretty random stuff going on. Speaking of pretty good performances, we have Zach Ertz with 33.5 points. Imagine getting 33.5 points from a tight end. You could have started no quarterback and won because of this. There's a potential that some of you had Ryan Fitzpatrick and won because of this guy right here. Because he was truly your quarterback for this week. Number 2, Eric Ebron. Man, you got to stop this. You caught 3 touchdowns in one. You caught 2 touchdowns and had a rushing touchdown. Share a little bit, man. Jack Doyle is still on this team. Help him out. Come on. Austin Hooper with 16. Great performance. Vance McDonald with 12 points. Played against the Panthers defense. Panthers give up the most points to the tight end position. Maybe, is there a Lions tight end we might want to look into? There's a potential, guys. Jonnu Smith, 12 points. Jalen Smith, 10 points. Jaylen Smith? That's Jaylen Samuels. I don't know how it ended up as Smith, but it happens. Tyler Higbee, 10 points. Mo Alley Cox, congratulations. You caught another touchdown for the Colts. And Jack Doyle is sitting here with 5 points. Thanks. Gerald Everett, Trey Burton. Pretty much, it's either you. We don't even see Travis Kelce. We don't even see Gronk on this list. We don't see O.J. Howard. We don't see Jimmy Graham. What a fantastic week 10 was. I want to thank everybody for watching. And to be honest, from the bottom of my heart, this was a very bad week 10. But week 11 is going to be better, guys. I promise you, for those of you who have lost, we're going to come back stronger, faster, and with a better mindset. Hopefully our players don't disappoint us. To be honest, I'm quite disappointed from the performances of my players. And I'm quite disappointed in the fact that all of the guys that I thought were going to be garbage somehow managed to be fantastic. So maybe it's a new strategy, but to be honest, anyway, thank you everybody for watching. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button, click the like button on this video. It really helps me out a lot. Thank you everybody. And until tomorrow, where I'll be talking about the running back start sits and the rankings, I will see you guys. Have a fantastic week. And I'll see you guys. If you have any questions, comment section, hit me up. See you guys.